Today I want to answer two important questions. The first is, what is the Muratorian Fragment, also known as the Muratorian Canon? And the second question is, why is it important? The Lexham Bible Dictionary records, and I'm going to paraphrase it, the Muratorian Fragment was discovered by Ludovico Antonio Muratori during the 1700s. He found it in the Ambrosian Library in Milan, Italy. This fragment previously was owned by the Columban monastery in Bilbao, Italy. More importantly, though, the fragment is a Latin manuscript written around the 7th or 8th century, so that would be around 600 or 700 AD, and it was first published in 1740. Although this document is incomplete, it contains an 85-line description of most of the books contained within the New Testament. But before I go on, it is important to know something about the compiling of the Gospels, and this is important because we're going to come back to this later whenever we start listing the actual books. And I'm going to quote from F.F. Bruce, a section in his New Testament documents, Are they reliable? In chapter 3, he says, At a very early date, it appears that the four Gospels were united in one collection. They must have been brought together very soon after the writing of the New Testament. According to John, this fourfold collection was known originally as the Gospel in the singular, not the Gospels in the plural. There was only one Gospel narrated in four records, distinguished as according to Matthew, according to Mark, and so on. About AD 115, Ignatius, Bishop of Antioch, refers to the Gospel as an authoritative writing, and as he knew more than one of the four Gospels, it may well be said that by the Gospel he means the fourfold collection which went by the name. So by at least 115 AD, the Gospel is being referred to as an authoritative work for the church. Additionally, Andreas Kostenberger and Michael Kruger, in their book The Heresy of Orthodoxy on page 157, they say the firm place of the canonical Gospels within the Church of the 2nd century is corroborated by the fact that the Muratorian Fragment, our earliest extant, which means it's still existence, canonical list, around 180, also affirms there are only four Gospels, and these are the four. And so it's important to understand that they say that the date of this Muratorian Fragment is 180. Now, what are they talking about? They're talking about, remember, the fragment itself was a translation into Latin from the Greek. So the Greek dates back to 180, and then they translate it into Latin later. But I think it's also important to understand that biblicalcanon.org provides a list of the accepted books within the New Testament at this time. And their list actually starts with the Gospel of Luke, but as I said before, that the Gospels are a package deal. They're always together. And so we have the four Gospels, of course, and then we have the book of Acts, and then we have the Pauline writings, and then we have 1st and 2nd John, Jude, and Revelation. So we have 22 of the 27 books of the New Testament contained within the Muratorian Fragment. So we're only waiting on a couple more books to receive acceptance within the canon, and that would be the books of Hebrews, James, and Peter's letters as well, and 3rd John. So what does this all mean? This all means that within the 150 years of Jesus' death and resurrection, the central writings that were later included in the New Testament were already deemed authoritative by early Christians. So what it means is, of course, that we have the majority of the New Testament, and then, of course, the other books, they receive acceptance a little later on. So, but the point of the matter is that we have the accepted books within the New Testament within 150 years of the Lord's death and resurrection.